The Trump administration, through the Office of Personnel Management, has made a surprising offer. They call it a Deferred Resignation program. They estimate as many as 10% of federal employees may choose to take advantage of this. It's important to you to know what's in it. That's what the purpose of this video is. The Chinese have a saying that may you live in interesting times. And for federal employees, you are living in interesting times, and it's probably the times and events occurring that you wouldn't expect or wouldn't have expected when you started working for the federal government. I'll tell you, I have worked for federal human resources topics, either as a federal employee or as a government contractor with fedsmith.com, and have about 50 years of experience working in federal HR or personnel or human capital, whatever the current term is that you prefer. But the times that you're experiencing now are different. And I'm sure a lot of you were surprised by some of the things that have happened and how quickly they've happened. Just this week, the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, has done two things that surprised most people. First, they issued an email to people as a test and went out to all federal employees. Second, they sent an email to all federal employees advising them of how to resign their positions if they wish to do so. And the document they issued is called Deferred Resignation. And that's a buyout by another term, but it's going to affect supposedly as many as 200,000 employees that may take advantage of this deferred resignation program. We don't know that for sure, obviously. It depends on how employees react. FedSmith did a video a very short time ago advising people about buyouts coming. And we said that would be quick, probably, and you'd have a window in which to accept or reject. So you'd be better off to think about how this would affect you, how it would affect your family, how it would affect your career. Is this something you want to do? Now, honestly, when we've said in the past, this is going to happen quick, I thought quick was 2 or 3 months because that's typically how long it lasts or how long it takes for OPM to approve, issue, plan, and execute a buyout. This time, President Trump took office January 20th. It became effective January 28th, and you've got to decide quickly if you're going to take this deferred resignation or not. So here we go. First, it's moving fast. It's never happened that fast in a modern era where a government agency that I've seen moves that quickly on administrative stuff. Maybe if they're getting ready for a military action or something, it just happens quickly as far as the public knows. But this is administrative, and it's happening fast. The emails are out. Employees have them if they were getting them. And the buyouts are bigger and more comprehensive than expected. When I did the video recently, I said that it probably won't affect your entire agency. That's true, it didn't. It did not occur to me it would affect the entire government, at least the civilian portion of it, but it does, with some exceptions. But for the most part, every federal employee can look at this and decide to take this or not. So that's very unusual. It's massive. And what the government wants to do is to encourage people to stay or to go, but they want it to be a voluntary decision. The program started January 28th and it ends on February 6th. So you have to make it a quick decision to take advantage of this. The rationale behind this, they are looking for a workforce willing to accept different requirements, a different work environment than you've experienced probably at any time else during your federal career. So specifically, one of the things a lot of people were concerned about, if you looked on social media, you saw how concerned people were. Return to working in an office, in a federal government building, instead of at home. A lot of people don't like that. They want to continue working at home. This program is going to give you a chance to continue working at home or leaving the government without having to return to the office if you choose to leave. The government's going to have a different performance culture. This is why they're doing it. They intend to have enhanced performance standards at every level. So they're telling you in advance, we're changing the culture. Your performance standards are going to get stricter, they're going to be tighter, and we're going to monitor them and take action if you don't meet the performance standards. So employees are going to be working in a smaller workforce. The government is going to be issuing, they say, RIFs, furloughs, and reclassification. So for those of you who are familiar with it, Schedule F is the reclassification where employees move from a career position with appeal rights to a career position without appeal rights. That is going to become part of the new work environment, and they're going to be monitoring and trying to take action if there's a case of misconduct or some other performance problem. Why is it being offered now? Significant changes are occurring, obviously, and some employees are going to want to leave this environment for a more secure environment or more job security. And I'll cover in a minute how that's going to affect you if you stay. Of course, if you go, you probably don't care because you're going to be gone. Don't say you weren't warned. OPM's guidance says several things specifically that are going to be important to you. Most federal agencies are likely to be downsized. Now, that'll happen through restructuring, realignment, RIF. They're going to be enhanced standards of suitability and conduct, and you're going to be expected to live up to these. Performance standards are going to be updated, they're going to be enhanced, is what that amounts to. And they're going to try to promote those who exceed performance expectations and take action against those who do not meet the performance expectations. Now, if any of you watching or listening were around back in, say, the Carter administration, you've heard some of this before. It didn't take too long. Case law before the new, at the time, Merit Systems Protection Board of the courts resulted in performance requirements not having the same impact that President Carter thought they would have. It took longer, it was harder. Very few actions are actually taken in the government to remove employees from performance because of the restrictions that have occurred over time. Now, I'm not saying those performance restrictions will change, but they're going to try to start enforcing them. That's what they're warning employees of, and basically saying this is a good time to take advantage of this program to get out of the government if you want to do so. For those remaining, they're saying thank you for your renewed interest and your renewed focus on serving the American people, because that's what it's going to take to be successful in this government. You have no assurance of your position or your agency's position if you stay. So basically what they're saying, stay if you want. It's your choice. If you do stay, keep in mind your agency may be eliminated or your position may be eliminated, or both. You could lose your job through a RIF, potentially, is what they're saying. And if you are eliminated, by that I mean you lose your job, you'll be treated with dignity and afforded protection through appeal rights. For those leaving government, they're saying thank you for your service. And then secondly, you'll be provided with a dignified, fair departure from the federal government with this deferred resignation program. Immediate concerns that are going to affect you as an employee that you're going to want to know about. The program starts January 28th, ends February 6th. Very fast. And of course, we've got a weekend in between there. So you have a chance to talk to your husband, your wife, your kids, whatever you need to do to make a sound decision. With any buyout, once you make that decision, you're probably stuck. There is a provision, according to the OPM guidance, if you change your mind and you want to come back, you can ask them. And maybe they'll let you come back, maybe they won't. It probably depends on your job, how badly they need your security requirements or they need your skills and abilities. If they decide, no, we don't need that, they don't have to let you back in. You're going to resign. It's very simple. Respond by email to OPM. One of the things OPM has done, and frankly, it's 2025, I am still very surprised that shortly after Trump took office, they now have the ability to email every federal employee. A lot of companies did that 15, 20 years ago. The government still operated pretty much as it did back in the 1960s or 70s. If a program like this resignation program is coming out, something would be sent out to personnel officers throughout the government. The personnel officers would have a staff meeting. They'd tell their division head, they'd report it back to the employees. So you went through divisions and various layers of supervision before you actually got the information. Here, most personnel offices probably found out about it with the email that all of you got when it went out from OPM. And of course, being 2025 and living in America, a lawsuit was filed very quickly after they started using the program. So we'll see what happens with that in the future. But for now, you got this email, and all you have to do is respond to it. What you do is send an email to hr@opm.gov, and it has to be from your personal government account. If you've got a .mil account, if you've got a .gov account, use that, and I would match it up with whatever the email went to. Don't use a different address, use that address. Type resign in the subject line and hit send. That's it. At that point, you've got a notification by email. Within 72 hours, it's been accepted, received, whatever the case is, you'll know. The program is designed to be very attractive. That's a personal opinion. So they're trying to get people to accept this deferred resignation. Keep in mind, this is a personal opinion also. Elon Musk went into Twitter, now called X, and he was criticized for it. He cut a substantial portion of the Twitter workforce, maybe as much as 75%. You don't become the richest man in the world, which apparently he is or purported to be, by making decisions that don't make a lot of sense. Twitter is up and running, different name, smaller number of employees, still got a lot of subscribers, works very well. And I think he's now, as you know, in charge of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and that's being carried over. Some of the OPM people have a background working for Elon Musk. They have a background in computers, and I suspect the fact that this email system is now up and running, and apparently running pretty well, to enable the president, OPM director, various people to send an email directly to federal employees, bypassing all levels of supervision. It goes to everybody at the same time. And that's what I think we're experiencing. Uh, when I first heard Department of Government Efficiency, I honestly thought it was a joke. The term government efficiency would be used by comedians as an oxymoron. Of course, that doesn't happen. But according to Musk, it does happen. According to President Trump, it's going to happen. And we're seeing it happening now with this deferred resignation program that you're now being offered. With a deferred resignation, you would have, if you accept this, your duties reassigned or eliminated. You would be placed on administrative leave. Now, that sounds bad. Typically, when you say to a person, you're on administrative leave, in the HR world, that probably means you've been doing something you weren't supposed to be doing, you got caught, now you're on administrative leave with pay, and we'll let you know after we decide to fire you or let you come back. That's not the case here. You're a fully respected, fully entitled federal employee, but you can enter this program, go on administrative leave. You don't have to go into work in an office. You can stay at home if you choose to do so. In fact, you're not even expected to do any work. If you accept it, you're not expected to work during your deferred resignation period. That's a big deal. Honestly, I'm surprised. I didn't know the government had the authority to do that. And to have it this quickly, put it in place this fast, and have a system up and running this quickly is a big surprise. I admire the people who've been able to put this together. They've done a tremendous job. Your administrative leave will end September 30th unless you select an earlier resignation date. That choice is up to you. It will automatically go until the very end of the fiscal year with full pay. That's a great benefit. Or if you decide for whatever reason you don't want that, you can make your resignation at an earlier date. Employees who are eligible for early or normal retirement can accept deferred resignation and still accrue your benefits. So, as an example, let's assume July 1st, you have reached the retirement age, and you might be retiring then for whatever reason you choose to retire. But you don't retire because you've accepted this. You can stay on an administrative leave until September 30th, and the benefits will still accrue if it has some benefit for you. Employees who elect to retire, either early or normal retirement, before the final resignation date will have retirement election override their deferred resignation. In other words, you decide, I want to leave July 1st. I don't want to wait until September 30th. You can do that. The government will let you. You could also take another job while you're on administrative leave outside your current agency. Now, there's some restrictions to that. Don't take it too literally. You may have a job where you've got security concerns. You may have signed a contract that you won't work in certain industries if you leave the government. Each agency is different. Each employee is different. Look at that through the view of whatever your particular circumstances are. But for the general workforce, you'd be able to go to work somewhere else while still getting your pay from the government if you choose to do so. You can also apply to work with the federal government in the future if you choose to do so. Obviously, you don't have to. You may not be accepted. You would go through the same process every other person would go through. If you want to go back to work for an agency at some point in the future, you'd be able to do that. And you're going to get an email confirming your resignation from OPM. If you don't, you want to get with OPM quickly, probably through that hr@opm.gov address. This is a program that frankly is unheard of. I never would have thought a federal agency, OPM, would go out with a program like this with this kind of benefit that accrues to you. They're obviously trying to get people to resign unless they want to work in a different work environment. The very first comment I saw in an article that we published this morning on this program, FedSmith published it. The guy was saying, and I don't know who it is, obviously, it's anonymous. He said, this is just a ploy by Donald Trump to get people to leave so he can fill the government with political loyalists. Well, maybe that is true. President Trump has said he thinks there's a deep state, and that's not a totally irrational opinion. You can look at what's happening in the government, criticism that comes in. Maybe there is a deep state, at least certainly from his perspective there is. On the other hand, don't shoot yourself in the foot. This offer is not likely to come again. If it's a good chance for you to leave and you want to leave for whatever reason, you're eligible to retire. Maybe you're much younger, but you don't like working for the government. Maybe you have a chance to get a higher paying job outside the government. If those types of things are happening and you want to take advantage of it, go for it. This is your chance. Thanks for listening. Please check back with FedSmith. We're going to be doing articles on our website. We're going to be doing other videos as more information comes out. I know people have a lot of questions. And as we get answers to those questions, we'll certainly try to keep you informed, advised, and we hope you make the best decision for you and your family. Thank you.